coverage of Russia 2018 confirmed a trend seen in past sporting events. Before the competition, the media is dominated by reports of controversy or a lack of preparation. But once the tournament starts, a sphere of consensus takes hold. That is sports washing. Hello everyone, and welcome to our YouTube channel Footballogy. Our channel takes a look at different sports and gets into detail about the political aspect of it. In this video, we will cover the topic of sports washing and see how Manchester City Football Club has been used by their Middle Eastern owners to improve their country's image. Before we start, please hit that like and subscribe button. Let's start! What is sports washing? The act of sports washing involves improving one's reputation by using sports, whether it be through club ownership, hosting a significant competition, or receiving sponsorship. A nation or politician gets involved in the sport in the hopes that some of its popularity will boost their standing. It happened during the 1936 Berlin Olympics, the 1978 Football World Cup held under the military regime in Argentina, and the repeated attempts made by apartheid South Africa to persuade sports teams to tour in order to maintain the appearance of normalcy. And it has continued, with recent or upcoming Olympic Games or Football World Cups being held in China, Russia, and Qatar. Football is the most popular sport in the world, making it a useful tool for sports washing. Newcastle United of the English Premier League was recently purchased by Saudi Arabia. Emirates Airlines of the United Arab Emirates sponsors Real Madrid. Manchester City is owned by Abu Dhabi. Like City, Paris Saint-Germain are owned by another Middle Eastern country, Qatar. German club Schalke are sponsored by Gazprom, which is controlled by Russia, who is effectively at war in Syria. What is similar in all of these? It's pretty obvious. All these countries are either run by dictators or countries with awful human rights record. For this video, let's talk about Manchester City. Sports washing and Manchester City. Manchester City was successfully acquired by Abu Dhabi United Group Investment and Development Limited on September 1, 2008. The sale, reportedly worth £200 million. Since the takeover in 2008, Sheikh Mansour, the owner, has invested about $1.8 billion, or £1.36 billion, and Forbes values the club at $4 billion. Since Manchester City's takeover in 2008, Sheikh Mansour's ownership has transformed the club. No team has had greater success in the English top division during the past 10 years than the Sky Blues, who used to frequently play in the middle to lower ranges of the Premier League. The wealth of City's owners, who have made substantial transfer fee investments like the £35 million for Sergio Aguero, £55 million for Kevin De Bruyne, £100 million swoop for Jack Grealish last summer, and most recently, £63 million for Erling Haaland, is largely to blame for this. In 2018, Amnesty International claimed that UAE's massive investment in Manchester City was one of football's most flagrant attempts to sports wash a country's badly scarred image through the glamour of the game. Headlines about Erling Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne, and Pep Guardiola will divert attention from some of the less positive headlines that the United Arab Emirates have been making recently. And since Sheikh Mansour, the owner of the Abu Dhabi United Group, is the Deputy Prime Minister of the United Arab Emirates, Minister of Presidential Affairs, the half-brother of the current President of the UAE, Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, warrant a mention. The UAE's hesitation in response to Russia's invasion of Ukraine has caused a re-examination of how the UAE sees its future interactions with other countries, with additional rifts over their normalization of ties with President Assad of Syria, a notorious war criminal, and its participation in the war in Yemen. In fact, it appears likely that during the next few years, ties between Western and Middle Eastern nations will deteriorate sharply. Allegations that the British government was the subject of spyware assaults coming from the UAE in a paper by Citizen Lab at the University of Toronto, which stated that in 2020 and 2021, we observed and notified of such attacks, have also brought attention to the rise in the potential for hostility. Embarrassing reports regarding Abu Dhabi's ties with the team have reached Manchester City, according to new claims made by the German news organization Der Spiegel. The club is accused of paying transfer fees for underage players, working with a government agency to fulfill payments owing to the club by a private firm owned by Sheikh Mansour, and supplementing the income of former manager Roberto Mancini with a covert consulting agreement. Does sports washing work? Yes. For example, Burnley fans applauded Ukraine during a Premier League match, but Chelsea fans screamed the name of their outgoing Russian owner, Roman Abramovich. Images of the most horrifying suffering coming from Ukraine, including smashed apartment buildings, bloodied bodies, and trains of refugees, were all over the news and social media. But even that was not enough for them. For the fans, their own identity was more important than even a moment of compassion for the suffering people. But that is what sports washing does, or more precisely, what it does in part. It gives club owners a ready army of defenders who will fight on their behalf in stadiums and on social media. Of course, it is quite possible for Chelsea supporters to appreciate Abramovich's generosity while still respecting other people's right to express their sympathies for Ukraine. Can we do anything about it? In Europe, supporting a football club is deeply ingrained in a city's culture. It's the kind of passion that binds a neighborhood together. It's something that you receive from your parents and pass on to your children. It is inconceivable that Newcastle supporters should be forced to give that up because a Saudi Arabian sovereign wealth fund purchased their team. Even so, it puts fans in a terribly unhappy situation because every victory on the field and every ticket or jersey purchase benefits an oppressive government. However, there are some things we can do in the realm of sports to combat it, as sports washing isn't going away. The German 50+1 rule, which states that, in most situations, club supporters own the majority of their favorite clubs, is one possibility for increasing fan sovereignty over sports teams. In a forcefully worded statement, the Danish Football Association promised to use their time in Qatar for the World Cup to promote migrant workers' rights and human rights. Second, Lewis Hamilton, the biggest celebrity in F1 and by far the best Formula One driver of the past 10 years, has frequently used his platform to denounce Qatar's treatment of the LGBTQ population. In the end, these are merely statements. Governments, not individuals, are the ones who actually take actions that affect human rights, in particular for international human rights crises that the average person may not be aware of. However, pressure must be kept up until actual action is taken. Governments frequently use sporting events to present a more compassionate image, but they are considerably less willing to make substantive changes. Due to the spotlight surrounding the World Cup, Qatar has made numerous pledges regarding labor reform. Thanks for watching! Do you agree with our video? Comment below and let us know.